Hey guys, what's happening? It is Wednesday, October 28th, so happy Halloween, everybody. I got some new releases on top of some other pickups. Besides Halo 5 Guardians and Tales of Zestria, there's a couple of other pickups. First up for the 3DS, Senran Kagura Deep Crimson 2, sort of hack and slasher action RPG. It says right here on the packaging, battle your opponents in clothes, shredding brawls. So I'm just going to leave it at that. As you can see by the packaging, they're going for a bit of a risque title, that's for sure. So I know nothing about it. I watched some video and was actually super excited to play it. I like the combat style that was in it, so I'm excited to pop that in and play it. Up next, Dragon Quest Heroes, The World Trees Woe and the Blight Below. Obviously, this is set in the Dragon's Quest world with the Dynasty Warriors Heroes style, between One Piece, Hyrule Warriors, and now this this kind of thing. After playing a deeply involved game, I kind of like to just play one of these because it's button mashy, you know, strictly hack and slash combat, deep combos and whatnot. But I like to play these because it's kind of just, you get in there and you go, and that's pretty much it. So I'm glad to get that. I didn't realize they were going to do a physical edition of this, so I'm glad I grabbed it up when I saw it. Wasteland 2, the director's cut from In Exile, which I believe is still Brian Fargo's studio. He made some masterful RPGs, and this is no exception. Then one other one that kind of slid under the radar, and I hope people pick this up, because if you are my age, mid to late 30s, this is right in your wheelhouse, especially with the art style and direction the game went. That is Transformers Devastation. I've played about 6 to 8 hours of it. The combat is insanely deep. Platinum Games made it, Activision published it, so the combat is insanely deep. Lots of combos to rattle off. You level up, you gain elemental weapons. It takes a bit of a sort of pickup style from Destiny. Your weapon pickups are color coded, and that's based on rarity, and you have to decode them when you go back to the Ark. So, like I said, it's I'm about 6 to 8 hours into it. It's been a blast playing so far. Those were the new pickups then, outside of Halo 5 Guardians and Tales of Zestria. There were some handful of thrift store pickups. There wasn't much. These were all from, let's see, these were all from Goodwill, and the rest of the stores were pretty picked over, and even Goodwill was picked over. First up, from Goodwill, picked up a blue original Xbox controller. It's in great shape. One of the sticks has some, it's not gouged or anything, but it looks like there was a sticker on it. Maybe it was in somebody's rubbish sale, but the sticks are firm and stiff. Face buttons are all stiff. Triggers are really bouncy. You can see that right there. They spring back really well. And this was $2.99 at Goodwill, so I couldn't pass that up. I know nothing about this game. I didn't even know they put one on here, and apparently it's got some sort of motion control built in. And that is Tony Hawk's Motion. It was 99 cents. If I don't like it, big deal. The case alone, because it's got the Game Boy Advance slot. I could use it for a Game Boy Advance case. Then picked up Nerf N-Strike for the Wii. This was $1.99. This is not an incredible game by any means, but I've played about 2 hours of it. It's stupid, ridiculous fun based on the Nerf world. You can buy the Nerf blaster for the Wii. I have no plans on doing that. I've just been playing it with a Wiimote, and it's been a reasonable amount of fun, especially for $1.99. I don't really care. This one was $2.99, and after I saw it, I found a copy of on the Xbox, but the place I found it at, another thrift store in town, wanted $8 for it, and I was like, nah, it's not worth that, so I will wait until I find it for the Xbox. But for $2.99, Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy. What I've played of it reminds me a lot of The Legend of Kay, sort of a action platformer, mild RPG elements. You get more mummies, and if you play as Sphinx, he's the battle-hardened one, and then on the back you see there's the mummy. When you play as him, he's sort of a stealth character. He's got to rely on his wits to solve puzzles and get through environments without being attacked. And last but not least, this was in the case at Goodwill, and I'm really excited to get this. This is one of my favorite games of all time, and that is A Boy and His Blob. I have the Wii version. I'm glad to get this one. I'll obviously have to clean it up as it had somebody's name on it, but it was $4.99. I gladly paid $5 for it because I was super excited to get it. Then it was over to First National Pawn. I actually got a bunch of stuff from there. We'll get that out of the way. First up, let's see. Oh, wait, take that back. There was one last Goodwill pickup, and the only reason I picked this up is it's getting harder to find. EA doesn't make these anymore. Doesn't make any NCAA games, and I'm not the hugest basketball fan, but NCAA March Madness I see is relatively hard to find. I don't even see it at Rock 30 all that often. So the college basketball games, especially from EA. They stopped making them before they stopped making the NCAA games, so these are relatively hard to find. So I'm glad to get that. Then it was over to, let's see, First National Pawn, and I grabbed up a handful of games from there over the past couple of weeks. And first up, for the 360, this was $6. Battlefield 2 Modern Combat. I now have both versions, one for the Xbox, one for the 360. I'm excited to play it. Like I said, I originally thought they were multiplayer only, but I guess there's a campaign in there. Grabbed this just by virtue of it being a 360 exclusive. The artwork looks like it's a little bit, I don't want to say water damage because it's not stuck in there, but it looks like it got damp at some point. But this is Naruto Rise of a Ninja. Don't really know a ton about it, but as you know, the cel-shaded games I absolutely love. That's what makes that Transformers Devastation gorgeous. They held true to the art style, and it looks amazing. Then, let's see. Is there anything else? Yep, one other one. This has been sort of a guilty pleasure. I've played a little bit of this. The controls are terrible, but everything else I've had a blast playing, and that is Damnation from Codemasters. It's really disappointing because there is a good game underneath the sloppy presentation, which good, not great game, but it's sort of a steampunky action shooter. You've got some I would say it goes far as to say mild parkour abilities, as you can traverse walls and railings and whatnot, and that's part of the game, so that's pretty cool. Then the rest of these are the last over at First National Pawn. I got this. This is actually a fairly solid game, The Punisher for the Xbox. It's pretty brutal too. I remember playing it, and there's a scene where you attack a guy in a restaurant to get information out of him, and you hold his face in the deep fryer. So that's kind of gory and kind of over the top. This came out when I can't remember if this was Thomas Jane's Punisher or Punisher War Journal. I think it's actually in between, but it's a third person action. You can upgrade your weapons. I do remember that, and you've got, like I said, you've got all these crazy ways to punish your enemies to extract information from them. Then there were two really amazing games over there that I was glad to pick up. I don't see this all that often. I know it's not. I don't want to say it's kind of uncommon. It doesn't get sold back that often, especially to the used game stores. But I was really glad to get this because it was $8. I don't know if I actually have never even looked at the price for this, average sale price for this, but I was glad to grab it for $8. It's in great shape. Case has got some stickers on it and whatnot. It still has the GameStop sticker in there, in fact. But this is Okami. I don't really need to say much more than it's an absolutely gorgeous game. The closest one of the closest things PlayStation ever had to The Legend of Zelda. Then, last but not least, this was a $10 pickup at First National Pawn. As far as I'm concerned, completely mismarked, as it goes considerably higher on eBay and all used game shops. It is complete. It even has the registration card. The sticker is still on the seam, and this is one I don't have. This is a game I don't have, and I am super glad to get it to add it to my Xbox collection. That is Stubbs the Zombie Rebel Without a Pulse. You're basically a zombie. That's it. You use your entire body as your weapon. You feast on the living. You possess the living in order to progress through the combat. You build a zombie army with Stubbs. I believe, if I remember correctly, it's supposed to be set in the 1950s. So it's got sort of a 1950s Art Deco style with sort of a noirish setting. But it's an amazing, amazing game. Fairly uncommon and hard to find for the Xbox. There's about a dozen auctions on eBay at any given point, but eBay prices, a loose disc is going for around $31 right now, and a complete copy is going for right around $45, in between $40 and $45, so to get this for $10 is pretty amazing. Then it was over to Rock 30. I picked up a bunch of stuff there, just some... Actually, wait. It was over to Rock 30, and I picked up a bunch of stuff there. Pretty much all of it, with the exception of one, is fairly easy to find. These were all $5 games. I don't have them, so I picked them up. I don't have them on the Xbox, so I picked them up because they were $5, and I haven't seen them in store before. Call of Duty 3, Call of Duty Finest Hour, and Call of Duty the Big Red One. This one I played a ton of on the PS2. I don't have it for the Xbox, and I'm actually kind of excited to play it because obviously the one thing the original Xbox did considerably better than the original PS2 was it handled first-person shooters a lot better. So I'm glad to get all three of those. Here's one that I really like, and it had been sitting at $9 for the longest time, and I see they recently dropped it down to $5, so it's not particularly rare or uncommon, but I just didn't want to pay $9 for it, knowing that it's fairly easy to find. So I picked this up for $5. That's Legacy of Kain, Blood Omen 2. Fantastic, fantastic game. Kain is a badass in this game, and I wish this is one of those ones that I wish IDOS would go back to. Now that they're in cahoots with, or are they owned by? I can't remember. But now that they work with Square, this is one of those properties I'd like to see them go back to, and maybe not give it a. Well, at this point, I think it's been long enough that they would have to give it a reboot, just because people would have to get refreshed with the series. But you play as Kain as a vampire. So, one of the mechanics in the game is actually kind of appropriate for this time of year, being that it's Halloween, is that as a vampire, one of the mechanics to restore health is you suck blood from your enemies. Then picked up this as well. This has got a fairly hefty manual for a fairly straightforward game. The sequel is actually really good. Blades of Time is the sequel to this, but this is X-Blades. The first one is sort of hokey and a little bit ridiculous, like no woman going into combat is going to be dressed like that. But anyway, this is actually a game with it's one of those games, a lot of heart, not perfectly executed by any means, but I played the hell out of this when I had it, and for the life of me, I could not find it anymore. So I have a feeling when I completely clean out my house, clean out my basement, I'm going to find this somewhere, but this was $6, so I wasn't going to pass it up. Last but not least, from Rock 30, this one I wasn't going to pass up. It had been sitting there for a couple of weeks, and I just said I'm not going to let it sit there anymore. I know there's some controversy as to whether these are great titles. I just happen to love the series no matter what, so I picked it up. It was $32, but I wasn't going to let it sit on the shelf anymore, and that is Mega Man X8. It's actually fairly gorgeous and still looks good to this day. It has multiple endings, so I'm going to try to do a complete playthrough of it. Obviously, it's a Mega Man game, so it's fairly hard. And I don't know what I got on my shirt there. Oh, it's just some fuzz from picking up my cat. But yeah, Mega Man X8, lots of fun, bright and colorful, and still looks really good to this day. And as I've said before, Capcom, please bring back Mega Man. All right, and then it was a 4 for $10 sale over at GameStop. So I picked up 4 games. Only one of them is really good. The first one being, I've always wanted to play it, and for 4 for $10, I would, basically breaks down to $2.50 a game. That is Hellboy: The Science of Evil. This again is one of those not perfectly polished, but there's a lot of fun to be had here, and for $2.50, I wasn't going to pass it up. Here's another one that I've always been intrigued to try, but never did, just because it got sort of middling reviews, but for $2.50, I'll give it a try. That is Dark Void. It looked amazing when Capcom teased it originally, but then the execution of the game was not perfect by any means. So glad to get it though for $2.50. One that was really cool to grab up for $2.50 that was in their 4 for $10 deal. That is Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning. I will probably go back and play this with all 3 classes and then be done with it, as we all know what happened. It was 38 studios and big huge games. It was Kurt Schilling's studio. They went bankrupt, and there's a lot of people who say they swindled the taxpayers of Rhode Island, whatever it may be, however you want to look at it. This studio isn't around anymore. I believe EA, actually, I believe the state of Rhode Island still owns the property for Kingdoms of Amalur. So hopefully EA or somebody buys up the property, because they're going to have a sale, because it's public assets at this point. They'll have to have a sale to recoup some losses on that. But a terrific hack and slash action RPG. The only problem I ever had with it is that they never raised the level cap, and I reached the level cap with probably 18-20 hours left to go in the game. And then one that is just good, stupid fun. By no means a good game, but I had a lot of fun playing it when I rented it, so I figured, for $2.50, why not add it to the collection? And that is Facebreaker, cartoony boxing game. We don't really get those anymore, so I'm actually glad to get that. And then there's one it's not a game, but it is a gaming pickup, to be sure. And that is I pre-ordered this from I Am 8-Bit, and it is a limited run, so I'm glad to get it. It's the original soundtrack from Grant Kirkhope, and the album art is by it's either Jacob or Yakub Gagnon, and that is the original soundtrack to Banjo-Kazooie. I even like what they did by putting a realistic bear and a realistic... I always wondered, was he supposed to be a cardinal? That's what he looks like anyway. But an amazing... I've already listened to the record twice. The soundtrack is amazing, but this is literally an amazing piece of artwork that they put together for this. So really glad to get that. As I said, I've got some pickup videos, or this is my pickup video, and I've got some more, hey, I'm playing that coming, handful of games that I'm going to show that I've been playing lately. But thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Happy Halloween. Oh yeah, one last pickup. This was a 99-cent pickup at Best Buy. They must have had these left over from way back when. But Sunset Overdrive trucker hat. I don't really particularly care for the trucker hats, but Sunset Overdrive is one of my favorite games of this generation, so figured for 99 cents, what the hell. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.